Life of Christ by Fulton J. Sheen. Circumcision, page 337. 8 days later the time came to circumcise Jesus, and he was given the name of Jesus, the name given by the angel before he was conceived. Luke 2:21. Circumcision was a symbol of the covenant between God and Abraham and his seed, and took place on the 8th day. Circumcision presumed that the person circumcised was a sinner. The babe was now taking the sinner's place, something he was to do all through his life. Circumcision was a sign and token of membership in the body of Israel. Mere human birth did not bring a child into the body of God's chosen people. Another rite was required, as recorded in the book of Genesis. God said to Abraham, "For your part you must keep my covenant, you and your descendants after you, generation by generation. This is how you shall keep my covenant between myself and you and your descendants after you. Circumcise yourselves, every male among you." Genesis 17:9-11. Circumcision in the Old Testament was the prefiguring of baptism in the New Testament. Both symbolize a renunciation of the flesh with its sins. The first was done by wounding of the body, the second by cleansing the soul. The first incorporated the child into the body of Israel. The second incorporated the child into the body of the new Israel, or the church. The term circumcision was later used in the scriptures to reveal the spiritual significance of applying the cross to the flesh through self-discipline. Moses in the book of Deuteronomy clearly spoke of circumcising the heart. Jeremiah also used the same expression. St. Stephen, in his last address before being killed, told his hearers that they were uncircumcised in heart and ears. By substituting to this rite, which he need not have done because he was sinless, the Son of God made man satisfy the demands of his nation, just as he was to keep all other Hebrew regulations. He kept the Passover. He observed the Sabbath. He went up to the feasts. He obeyed the old law until the time came for him to fulfill it by realizing and spiritualizing its shadowy prefiguring of God's dispensation. In the circumcision of the divine child, there was a dim suggestion and hint of Calvary in the precocious surrendering of blood. The shadow of the cross was already hanging over a child 8 days old. He would have 7 bloodsheddings, of which this was the first, the others being the agony in the garden, the scourging, the crowning with thorns, the way of the cross, the crucifixion, and the piercing of his heart. But whenever there was an indication of Calvary, there was also some sign of glory. And it was at this moment, when he was anticipating Calvary by shedding his blood, that the name of Jesus was bestowed on him. A child only 8 days old was already beginning the bloodshedding that would fulfill his perfect manhood. The cradle was tinged with crimson, a token of Calvary. The precious blood was beginning its long pilgrimage. Within an octave of his birth, Christ obeyed a law of which he himself was the author, a law which was to find its last application in him. There had been sin in human blood, and now blood was already being poured out to do away with sin. As the east catches at sunset the colors of the west, so does a circumcision reflect Calvary. Must he begin redeeming all at once? Cannot the cross wait? There will be plenty of time for it, coming straight from the Father's arms to the arms of his earthly mother. He is carried in her arms to his first Calvary. Many years later, he will be taken from her arms again, after the bruising of the flesh on the cross, when the Father's work is done.